Religious tradition is a very powerful force in this world, which can be either good or bad. Good when it incorporates truth, bad when it doesn't. When Jesus came 2,000 years ago, the traditional strength of the religious leaders was so well established that it had effectively blinded them and their followers from seeing the truth, the very scriptures they embraced. I believe the Lord hides truth in plain sight. So, to discover truth is to simply awaken to what was there all along. Awaken, as in being raised. I think the more awake we are, the more fruit we bear. I'm talking about the fruit of love. Pride is the force sustaining most religious traditions. Take a raw and honest look at any religious construct, Christian or otherwise, and you will find that it almost always revolves around a desire to preserve the self. If the self is not preserved in its religious construct, then it will probably be modified to accommodate it. More often than not, this introduces some form of separation between those who believe and those who don't. Put it simply, this is prejudice, religious in essence, but still prejudice. Simple definition of prejudice is preconceived negative opinion or attitude toward a person or group based on inadequate or inaccurate information. It's essentially a bias, often formed without proper understanding or knowledge of the individual or group in question. Note that the definition says preconceived, meaning that one's opinion is established before there is adequate or accurate information or a proper understanding or knowledge of the individual or group in question. As the saying goes, don't confuse me with the facts. I've already made up my mind. We're seeing quite a bit of this these days, and I believe one of the primary reasons for it comes from God's people. We've not been led to think that most folks will miss the rapture and be eternally tormented. And how long have we been pushing these ideas? Could both of these teachings fall under inaccurate information? I believe that prejudice is the number one characteristic of the self. After all, if I see myself as just a little bit better than you for whatever reason I deem appropriate, then I am, as such, self-satisfied. On the surface, scriptures lead many to be prejudiced in some form and fashion. Think in terms of favoritism or being special. Jesus did not teach this. Paul understood it, stating, I think that God has displayed us, the apostles, last, as men condemned to death, for we have been made a spectacle to the world, both to angels and to men. Beneath the surface of the many things Jesus and Paul said and did was always this one component. They were simply carrying out God's purpose. Friend, if God uses anyone in any such way, it is not because they're special, but because it is His purpose. And this is true for both sides of the fence. We should always keep this in mind. By the way, the louder someone hollers, God said, the more likely it is, He didn't. Jesus obliterated the prejudicial aspect when someone asked Him, Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life? How did Jesus respond? Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone. That pretty much levels the playing field, does it not? Paul echoes the Lord's sentiment in Romans 3:10 through 12, stating, None is righteous, no, not one. No one understands, no one seeks for God. All have turned aside. Together they have become worthless. No one does good, not even one. Here's the truth. We did not choose God. We did not one day decide we would follow the Lord and then did it. If we have any heart toward God, then it originated with Him. So it is that Jesus said, No man can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up at the last day. The word draws means drag, and believe me, I understand why. Raise him up? Yes, as in bearing fruit. For he who humbles himself will be exalted. This does not mean that they will garner a great spiritual reputation, amass lots of followers and donations, and build a huge ministry of sorts. That's what we're used to seeing, but folks, that's not it. Those who are raised simply bear the fruit of love wherever they go and in whatever they do. They love for the sake of love itself. They give, expecting nothing in return. In the world arena, we have been conditioned to think that only the elite should have privileges. This, my friend, is a product of the love of self. Our leaders, religious or otherwise, should be the first to exhibit self-sacrifice. But let's face it, that's the last thing we're seeing, especially from our leaders. Here's the reality. Pride breeds pride. So when leadership shuns self-sacrifice, it trickles down to the masses and becomes the mindset leading to destruction in all its forms. The proverb is clear. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And again, by pride comes nothing but strife. But with the well-advised is wisdom. Do you watch the news? Are you aware of what's going on? Dear brother and sister, we are in great need of divine intervention, not because of the world at large, but because our religious contrivances don't work. Ever ask yourself why Jesus bypassed the religious structure of his day? Today, he would be considered a radical or extremist, and most certainly a troublemaker. Why? Because as it was then, so it would be now. He is not returning to vindicate our gospel as opposed to their gospel, or our denomination over their denomination. Think about it. That's respect of persons. Didn't Peter discover on the rooftop that God is no respecter of persons? Perhaps we all need to make a trip to the rooftop. The one who thinks they're wise will not ask for wisdom. The one who thinks they're right will not accept correction. So here's the dilemma. I have churches on every corner and channels like this all over social media and so on. But America, along with all other countries, are crumbling from the inside out. It is people. They are destroyed for lack of knowledge, not because it's not available, but because we've convinced ourselves that we already have the answer. I'm going to heaven. What else should concern me? Whether we admit it or not, much of the Christian community is captive to some degree of religious prejudice. How do we know? Not only because of the great number of divisions that exist, but also the fairy tales we've managed to conjure up to justify our rightness. Think about it. No one can come to Christ except the Father drags them. Why do we judge anyone for not believing in him and condemn them to some form of eternal torment for failing to do so? So let me ask you a question. If our loving Father intends to dump all non-Christians into eternal torment in this present generation, does this include all the evil people before Christ? What about those taken by the flood in Noah's day? Are they currently roasting in endless flames? Do we have an answer for such things? If not, why not? How do we explain it? Furthermore, what degree of evil warrants eternal torment in the first place? Here's the really big question. If Jesus himself said there's none good, not even one, then when am I ever really good enough? With just these questions in mind, is it wrong to consider the thought that maybe, just maybe, we're off in our thinking somewhere? So, back to tradition. As first stated, it's a very powerful force. So powerful, in fact, that it has succeeded in doing today what it did 2,000 years ago, replacing truth with our own prejudicial ideologies. Now, before I close, let me share a small portion of a letter by Dietrich Bonhoeffer that has made quite the impact on social media. It's labeled The Theory of Stupidity. Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. One may protest against evil. It can be exposed and, if need be, prevented by use of force. Evil always carries within itself the germ of its own subversion, in that it leaves behind in human beings at least a sense of unease. Against stupidity, We are defenseless. Neither protest nor the use of force accomplish anything here. Reasons fall on deaf ears. Facts that contradict one's prejudgment simply need not be believed. In such moments, the stupid person even becomes critical. And when facts are irrefutable, they are just pushed aside as inconsequential, as incidental. In all this, the stupid person, in contrast to the malicious one, is utterly self-satisfied and, being easily irritated, becomes dangerous by going on the attack. For that reason, greater caution is called for than with a malicious one. If we want to know how to get the better of stupidity, we must seek to understand its nature. Perhaps I'm wrong in thinking this, but this seems to describe the prevailing mindset and condition throughout the world today. What did Bonhoeffer say? If we want to know how to get the better of stupidity, we must seek to understand its nature. Might this nature be the carnal nature? I will close with the following. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and He will lift you up.